Legacy overhead. That was the phrase that followed me like a shadow I couldn't shake. I was halfway through updating a compliance audit sheet when the video feed crackled to life on my monitor, and there he was, Adrian Cole. 30 years old, maybe a little less if you counted ambition as experience. Perfect haircut, artificial tan, teeth so white they looked least. He smiled like someone who believed confidence alone could replace competence. The CFO introduced him as our new efficiency architect. In corporate language, that meant executioner with a LinkedIn following. Adrian spoke smoothly, stacking buzzwords like poker chips, streamlining, optimization, eliminating redundancies. His eyes scanned the grid of faces on the screen and stopped on me, lingering, as if he'd already decided I was obsolete furniture. I didn't react. I never did. Instead, while he talked, I quietly opened a folder on my desktop. Inside were every licensing document, federal renewal timestamp, audit trail, and compliance chain legally bound to my name. Years of invisible work. I clicked Save As, renamed the folder Community Bake Sale Ideas, and backed it up to a private drive. Evelyn Hart didn't panic. Panic was for people who hadn't prepared. By lunch, Adrian was already holding court in the break room, laughing with junior analysts about legacy infrastructure. I was 42, not ancient, but in his world, if your workflow didn't look good in a demo, it deserved extinction. That afternoon he called a standing huddle. Slide deck full of phrases like Agile Compliance Framework and Distributed Accountability Nodes. Interns nodded like disciples witnessing revelation. Then he said it. Some legacy roles may no longer align with our forward momentum. His gaze locked on mine. We appreciate your historical contributions, Evelyn. Historical. Like I belonged behind glass. I smiled, slow and controlled. The kind of smile you wear when someone steps onto a trap you've been building for years. That night, I stayed late. Not to work, but to confirm facts. Every certification active. Every license valid. Every federal credential tied to me alone. I printed my employment contract and highlighted Section 7C, the clause no one ever read. When I finally left the building, no one noticed. But the fuse had already been lit. The following week unfolded exactly the way I expected. Adrian decorated the office with motivational posters like warning labels. One above the copier read "Compliance not equal to complacency." Comic Sans. A crime against humanity. Soon after, HR announced that everyone would need to reapply for their evolved roles. It was marketed as growth and empowerment. In reality, it was a loyalty test wrapped in corporate therapy language. One by one, employees entered glass conference rooms and came out wearing relief or fear like perfume. When it was my turn, I brought no resume. Adrian barely looked up from his laptop. "You've been here a long time," he said casually. 10 years, I replied, steady and calm. He clicked through a half-built organizational chart. My name was crossed out in red. Next to it, a vacant box labeled pending reassignment. Another tab opened, Q3 license delegation plan. In the comments, "Can this be transferred downstream?" Downstream meant dumped onto someone unqualified. Back at my desk, I opened the database I'd built from scratch in 2016. 43 licenses. 43 regulatory authorities. Each one mapped, time-stamped, and legally tied to me. I exported the file, encrypted it, renamed it Staff Birthday List, and emailed it to myself. Then I scrubbed access logs. Quiet. Clean. By Wednesday, my responsibilities were stripped away. Compliance prep went to an intern who thought FDA stood for Food Design Aesthetic. I was reassigned to organizing janitorial supplies. Foundational work, Adrian said, smiling like it was mercy. I asked if I still had admin access to the licensing dashboard. He blinked. Oh, we routed that to Lena Brooks. You don't need it anymore. Lena had learned what a PDF was last week. I nodded politely, walked to a forgotten terminal, and revoked her access from a shadow admin panel I'd never documented. If I was being erased, I wasn't leaving the keys behind. By the end of the week, I was locked out of systems I had personally designed. Error codes replaced dashboards. HR told me all requests now had to go through my manager, Adrian. Silence became policy. So I prepared. I visited a small notary office above a nail salon on Monroe Avenue. No drama. No witnesses. I notarized a voluntary relinquishment of licensing authority. I didn't sign it yet. Think of it as chambering around and keeping the safety on. The following Monday arrived with forced smiles and recycled optimism. Adrian called an all-hands meeting. He stood behind my chair, voice smooth, posture confident. Effective immediately, he announced, Evelyn Hart's position has been phased out. No meeting. No warning. Just a sentence dropped like a guillotine. HR approached with a glossy folder. I signed the termination form calmly and asked for a printed copy. 4 minutes later, I walked out of the building carrying paper and certainty. At 7:13 p.m., my phone buzzed. Licensing authority formally relinquished. All dependent entities will be marked non-compliant within 24 hours unless reauthorized. I poured a glass of cheap wine, turned off my phone, and slept deeper than I had in years. Wednesday morning detonated quietly. Shipments failed to clear. Vendor portals rejected logins. API calls collapsed mid-sync. Compliance dashboards bled red. Adrian strolled into operations holding a coffee. We'll update the contact info, he said casually. A junior analyst, Maya Chen, cleared her throat. Sir. Evelyn was the only registered certifying officer. Silence spread like frost. Legal started pacing. Operations froze. By Friday, federal inspectors arrived without warning. Who is the current license holder? They asked. No one answered. The CEO, Richard Vaughan, returned from vacation to a company in freefall. Operations frozen. Contracts suspended. Revenue flatlined. He reviewed my termination paperwork slowly. You fired the license holder, he said. Adrian tried to explain. Her role was redundant. Richard laughed once, sharp and humorless. They tried to contact me. Emails. Calls. Voicemails. Then a consulting offer arrived. Temporary role. Bonuses. Silence clause. I replied with receipts. Section 7C highlighted. License revocation confirmed. Dashboard screenshot attached. No threats. No emotion. Just math. 3 weeks later, LinkedIn lit up. Evelyn Hart, Director of Compliance Strategy at a rival firm. 2 major clients followed. Back at my old company, dashboards stayed red. Audits failed. Careers ended. Above my new desk hung a yellow sticky note, in case they forget. I was the license. Revenge didn't scream. It documented.